Based on a primary, her campaign is leaning into that background against a candidate with a felony record. Joining me now is Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel. Attorney General, your speech addressed the very real dangers a second Trump presidency and the current super conservative majority on SCOTUS pose to same-sex marriage.
Yeah, there's no question about it. You know, we have a very different court now than we had when marriage equality became the law of the land in 2015. We've lost 3 judges who ruled in the majority on that case. One of them, Anthony Kennedy, of course, authored that opinion. And, you know, I think we can't possibly overstate the importance of, you know, having Kamala Harris be the one who gets to nominate Supreme Court justices who actually care about protecting people's freedoms, protecting their fundamental rights, and who understands and supports due process and equal protection under the law.
I want to play another quick clip of your DNC speech. Take a quick listen.
We know when she takes an oath to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution, she's actually read it. We know that she'll appoint Supreme Court justices who will protect our freedoms. And let me tell you, Kamala knows you go from the courthouse to the White House, not the other way around.
You added on social media, lady prosecutors get it done. As a former lady prosecutor, I co-sign that. But why is Kamala Harris's prosecutorial record such an asset for her campaign and also as the president of the United States?
Well, first of all, you know, her experiences as not just district attorney, but also as attorney general. I mean, she spent her career, you know, protecting the rights of all kinds of groups of people, right? Seniors and workers and students and minority communities and the environment. I mean, this is what this woman has done for the entirety of her career. And let me mention this. I don't think it's talked about nearly enough. 20 years Kamala Harris has been in public service, right? As a district attorney, as an attorney general, as a senator, as vice president. She is scandal-free, right? This is a woman of great character who just, you know, puts her head down, studies the issues, does her homework, and does her job. And you contrast that with Donald Trump, who is routinely engaged in so many scandals that he has to sometimes tweet things out to create a new scandal just to distract the public from the scandal he's currently involved in. And I mean, it's such chaos. Why would we want to go back to that? But the other thing I want to point out to people is this. I mean, you talk about the stark contrast between these two individuals, right? They both know their way around the courtroom. Only for Kamala Harris, she served as a prosecutor or representing the people. And of course, with Donald Trump, every time he's in a courtroom, it's as a defendant, either because he's being sued for, you know, trespassing against people's rights in some way or another, or because he's committed crimes. I mean, that's a stark difference. You have on one hand Kamala Harris, right, who obviously she's tried cases before judges and juries and is used to preparing witnesses for cases. With Donald Trump, he spends his time threatening judges and juries and witnesses on his cases. I mean, you know, you couldn't have people who are more different and who have vastly different experiences. And it's just absolutely shocking to me that we even have to have this as a debate. You have somebody who's spent her whole career supporting and enforcing and defending the law, whereas Donald Trump has spent his entire career violating the law.
Yeah, you know, it occurred to me when I was thinking about
of democracy. So this is important. We're not going to agree with them on abortion. We're not going to agree with them on guns. We are going to agree on defending our democracy. So for this moment in time, just like in 2020, bringing together a wall in favor of democracy, vitally important.
So, Mandy, let me ask you about this. Stuart Stevens was on last night with me, and he said these endorsements don't really matter by Republicans. So I was asking, well, do they create a permission structure? Do they do something? What happens to have people from across the political spectrum, more from the right than the left, at a convention like this saying we are Republicans for Harris, or we are border guards for Harris? What does it actually do, in your opinion?
Yeah, it's a good point, Ali, because, look, let's just deal with the elephant in the room. Does this bring Republicans over to the Democrats?
Right.
Not really. If you look at the news story about how Fox basically just didn't even air any of these speeches, right? They either aired them and talked over them or just didn't air these former Republicans or Republicans for Harris. So that tells you a lot about Fox, which is not a news network, it's a propaganda network. So they're blocking some of this information about, Jeff Duncan or Olivia Troy or whoever it is on Fox to their viewers. What it does do, though, and I'm with Dean on this one, it's the vibes, right? It undermines this idea, especially amongst swing voters, and there's only a few of those left in America, that Kamala Harris is not some crazy far leftist, is not someone who hates America, is not someone who isn't reasonable. This idea that you can create this permission structure for people in the middle who aren't quite sure to say, oh, well, she seems to want to reach out to people. I think what's key, as Dean points out, is that Harris and the Democrats are not leaning out in a way that says, we're giving you concessions on policy in order for you to get on board. This is not a triangulation strategy of the Bill Clinton sort of the 1990s, which says, we'll meet you in the middle. I think the point is we have one common goal, which transcends all other common goals, which is stopping Donald Trump. And I think, I'm not a big fan of Adam Kinzinger either. The guy voted 90% in line with Trump on all sorts of horrible policy issues, which Dean just mentioned, including guns and taxes, etc. But when he came out and made the case against Trump, that was a valuable thing to do for the Democratic Party. And look, it's all going to come down to a few thousand votes in a few states. And if even small things make a difference, then we should take them seriously. My position is anything that makes a small difference should be taken seriously. And my worry, by the way, about the vibes, just to be devil's advocate to Dean, I was there in Chicago and I spoke to a member of Congress who said, these people are acting like we've won already, right? It was almost like a victory party, not an official confirmation party for the nominee. And my biggest worry always at times like this.
Let me roll my sleeves up here. Being totally honest, which is 100% totally honest, no BS. I never watched a Democrat convention before. In fact, I never watched a Republican convention before. Not sure why. So it was all totally new to me. The first one that I watched, maybe from start to finish, was the one with the roll call. And I was like, wow, this is exciting. This is a whole new spin on politics. You had Little John go, turn down for what? Dun, 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 and all that stuff. I can't rap, so I won't continue. But I was fascinated thinking, where have I been? This happens every year. Did a little bit of research, Google, and I was quite surprised to find out that the conventions are nothing like that normally. So I'm thinking, how are they? And, well, probably the cross between going to a library and falling asleep, because not particularly. They're very, how should we say, a lot of the administration. There's obviously speeches and that, but it's a different type of convention to what we saw this week.
We've got about 30 seconds left here. I do want to give you a moment to talk about the Republicans for Harris effort. This is not just in Florida. This is an effort that is spread out across the battleground states as well as several other states. This is a full-throated effort to engage Republicans. I've been advocating permission structure for over a year. A lot of folks working behind the scenes to make that happen. You're on the tip of the spear of that leadership. Give us a real quick thumbnail on how that effort's coming and what does it look like right now from the ground.
We are growing by the day as an unprecedented group. And, yes, it's true that NAGA is going to remain past November. I'm going to do my part to empower people to leave, reconcile with their friends and family. But I'm going to do everything with Republicans for Harris to ensure that Donald Trump is permanently placed in the rearview mirror of America. And that is part of the case that we're going to continue to make to some of those undecideds and some of those dissatisfied Republicans right now. This is an opportunity for the country to move forward to move away from Donald Trump and to ensure that we are victorious in November. If we have the kind of turnout I know we're capable of, I believe there can be an historic repudiation of the Republican Party in November.
So I was then quite thinking, how did they decide this was going to be the way forward? Is it because Kamala Harris is now at the helm, at the top of the ticket for the Democratic Party, or was this always planned? One thing for sure, I don't know how they're ever going to go back to how roll calls used to be. It's a bit like, running water and a river. I know that sounds like is this guy okay? What's he on about? It's a bit of an extreme way, but that's the way I see it, because I don't really know how they can go back. It's like there used to be the old internet, dial up, take ages to do anything. Yeah. Whereas now, obviously, it's like broadband's not fast enough, if that makes sense. So I just do not know how they will go back. If you've watched a convention before, would you in the comment section just explain to me what you thought about how the Dems put over their convention? Did you see any of the Trumpathon? I just saw a few highlights. I've always wondered how people sit through a rally, never mind 4 days of a convention. But anyway, maybe that's why he had the ear pad on. Maybe it was to drown out the noise. Obviously, it doesn't work with his own voice. But anyway, the comment section, let me know just how you see these conventions now and what happens next time. Because in a way, the Democrats are kind of set their stall out. I don't know how they top that. And they're now going to have, and it was very tight. In radio, there's this, back in the day when I used to work in radio, there's this thing, you hear a song and you put your DJ voice on now and you do a time check, a little bit of weather to try and hit the vocals. It sounds so cheesy, but listen to the radio, you'll hear them do that. They were doing that with DJ Cassidy. I suspect some of it was pre-recorded and on tape and he was just doing that for camera effect. But anyway, it was very good.
It's looking like a pretty tight race. We know that the former president's going to speak moments from now, and they're attempting to counter-program what we are hearing there in Chicago at the convention. But she's leading in this poll, 4 points in Wisconsin, 3 in Pennsylvania. Trump's got the edge by 3 points in Michigan.
A very competitive race. If the election were today, I'm not sure who would win. And I think it may well be President Trump, because it's an electoral college fight. For a Democrat to win those battleground states, they have to have a significant lead in the electoral college. That enthusiasm is really, really important for the Democratic Party, but you have to turn that into energetic action in order to win.
So how do you do that, Juan?
Well, I mean, I think they started last night. I think everybody who was here last night sensed that the enthusiasm was through the roof. And what she says is, she's an underdog. And I don't know about you or Sean, but I always root for underdogs. I kind of take an emotional, investment in the little guy winning. And I think that's what they're trying to do, is to say, listen, we got to get involved. People have to organize. People have to actually walk the elderly neighbor to the polls. And what I'm hearing, even from Republicans who are here, is that they are shocked at the amount of not only the kind of, love enthusiasm, but Democrats getting in line, Democrats now organizing, raising the money successfully. The money's been through the roof in the last few days. Well, I'm all with you guys on underdogs, but I think that the former president was leading this race quite handily, before Joe Biden exited. And he is the guy that I think most people expected to win. That's not the case now. We have a race that has been transformed. And I don't know what he's going to say, but one of the economic angles, Sandra, is that from the Democrats' point of view, Trump has been saying he wants tariffs that would raise costs for the American consumer. And he's been saying quite clearly he wants tax cuts continued for the very rich and corporations.
Okay.
And now I would like to introduce my father, your 46th president of the United States, Joe Biden.